Paratmanamekam Jagadbijamadyam Niriham Nirakaram Omkara Vedyam Yato Jayate Palyate Yena Vishvam Tamisham Bhaje Liyate Yatra Vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, so today we are in the 6th session of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So this is the chapter which deals with the supreme nature of the supreme reality and how to fix one's mind on this supreme reality called Ishvara. This chapter essentially deals with the nature of the supreme reality, Ishvara. And how are we going to fix our mind on that? That is the challenge. First of all, the knowledge of the reality, Jnanam, and then Vijnanam, the experience of it. The experience of this reality comes when we fix our mind on it. How to do that? That is the challenge. So Sri Krishna presented to us the picture of the supreme reality. He beautifully presented the Apara Prakriti and the Para Prakriti. Apara Prakriti is the matter, Para Prakriti is consciousness, and in and through these two, what we see as world comes into existence. In short, whatever we are experiencing, it is nothing but that supreme reality, Ishvara, manifesting as matter and consciousness. Again, I repeat, the total reality is that whatever we are experiencing, it is nothing apart from that Ishvara. Now, why is that we are not able to understand this? Sri Krishna stated that this is happening owing to my Maya. It is my Maya, the Maya which is divine. Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya. It is my own Maya, it is Brahman's own Shakti, it is divine. And because of my Maya, people are not able to understand what the supreme reality is. And this Maya is very difficult to overcome. It is very difficult to cross over. It's a big challenge. And Krishna stated that those who take refuge in me and me alone, that person can overcome this Maya. Then he spoke about two classes of people. One class of people, those who are evildoers, and there's another class of people who are good people, noble people. They are bhaktas. And among the second category of so-called noble people, bhaktas, those who take refuge in Ishvara, they also are of four types and kinds. The first is Artha, the second is Jigyasu, the third is Artharthi, and the fourth is Jnani. The first three are, we can say, they are Sakama Bhaktas. They are getting connected to Ishvara for some selfish gain. But doesn't matter. That is also a very great thing. To be connected with God for whatever reason or no reason, it's a good thing. So Sri Krishna says that these four, among that the first three, they are all Sakama Bhaktas. And the fourth one is Jnani. And we had seen about this Jnani, Sri Krishna says, the last class we had come up to that verse. Among these four, Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate. This Jnani is Nitya Yukta and Eka Bhakti. Two beautiful terms are used here. It is very interesting. What is the characteristic of this person who is referred to as Jnani? Jnani is a person who is Nitya Yukta. Very important point. He is endowed with constant connection with Ishvara. Constant, unbroken connection with Ishvara. How do we get connected with Ishvara in an unbroken manner? This can happen only when you have the knowledge, correct knowledge of the Supreme Reality. What is the correct knowledge of the Supreme Reality? The correct knowledge of the Supreme Reality is that there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. There is no second entity existing apart from Ishvara. Now here Shankaracharya makes a very significant statement. He says, for this Jnani, whose vision is that here Ishvara and Ishvara alone is existing, for him there is no other object existing apart from Ishvara where his mind can get distracted. Anyasya bhajaniyasya adarsanat eka bhakti. He says, why is this Jnani constantly connected with the Ishvara in an unbroken manner? Because for him there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. Where is the world? A second entity called world. Where is the Jiva? A second entity called Jiva. For this man of knowledge, Ishvara alone is existing in so many forms. Ishvara existing in the form of Jiva, Ishvara existing in the form of Jagat. In short, there is no Jiva, no Jagat, Ishvara alone is existing. If that is the case, this Jnani, his connection with the reality, there is no cause for his connection to become broken. Where is the occasion for his connection with God to be broken? Because if it has to be broken, it can be broken only if there is a second entity apart from God exists. This is precisely what is happening with us. With us, in our present state of our awareness, God is one entity and the world is a second entity. That is why we are sometimes connected with God, and most of the time we are connected with a second entity called Jagat. This is the so-called common man's struggle, and this is happening owing to not having the right comprehension of what the Supreme Reality is. That's why we need to have the right knowledge, the comprehension of the Supreme Reality in its totality, which comes only from the Shastras. And when we have it, we see that there is absolutely no occasion for this person's connection with God to be broken. So this person is endowed with a constant, unbroken connection. Nitya Yukta, a beautiful term. He is Yukta. Yukta means he is connected. How is he connected? Nitya. Nitya means in a totally unbroken manner, because there is absolute absence of anything which can break his connection with divinity. What a beautiful thing it is. And this being the case, he is also Eka Bhakti. He is endowed with one-pointed devotion. How? Why one-pointed devotion? Because for him there is no second entity to which he can be devoted. Presently in our condition, you just see, we feel devoted to God for some time. Then our devotion shifts from God to the things of the world. Is it not? Our devotion means what? Love. Our love for God is for some time. Perhaps when we go to the temple, perhaps when we sit down in our home shrine to do puja, at that time we feel love. Yes, it's a very good thing. He is also a bhakta. He or she is also a bhakta. A bhakta is a person who is trying to find his or her connection with Bhagavan. He or she is a bhakta. But this person's bhakti is such that this person feels love for God at certain points of time. Then, as for this person, a second entity called world is existing separately. There is every possibility of that love getting shifted from Bhagavan to Jagat. That is why there's always struggle is going on. This person's bhakti is not Eka Bhakti. This person's love is not one-pointed, it is many-pointed. You can see. Love on God, and from there when the mind is shifted, then it is for love for children, love for husband, love for wife, love for money. It's getting shifted between these two things. But for a jnani, a person who has got a perfect comprehension of the supreme reality, as his understanding is, there is no second entity apart from Ishvara, there is no cause for his devotion to become broken or bifurcated between two things. His devotion is one-pointed. What a beautiful thing it is. Shankaracharya brilliantly comments. He says, Anyasya bhajaniyasya adarshanaat eka bhakti. He is eka bhakti because for this jnani there is no second entity apart from Ishvara on whom he or she can have devotion. What a beautiful thing it is. This person is constantly in a devotional mood. Constantly, because for him or her there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. This person's idea of Ishvara is not localized. When I say localized, what does it mean? God is not only in temple. Usually our idea of God is what? When we go to temple, we feel as if we are standing in front of God. What about when we come outside the temple? Is that not God? When we stand in front of the Garbhagriha, yes, we bow down. We see God in a certain form. But what is the reality? The moment we come outside of the temple, is that not God? This question we need to ask. God cannot be localized. The localized idea of God is good. It's meant for our convenience so that we can learn, practice to fix our mind on a certain aspect of divinity. But can divinity be localized? Can it be limited to a certain place? Can it be limited to a certain form? One form? No. No matter whichever form it is. Can it be limited to a certain time? These are all questions which everyone should ask. Every spiritual seeker has to find answers to these profound questions. And the direction will be given by Sri Krishna and the Shastras. So Sri Krishna is saying here, this person's devotion is one-pointed and this person is constantly connected with divinity because of his perfect comprehension of the supreme reality. And that's why this person is Vishishyate. Vishishyate means he excels. He is superior to all other bhaktas. In the case of the first three bhaktas, their devotion is not Eka Bhakti, it is Bahu Bhakti. You may say that devotion is Bahu Bhakti. Bahu Bhakti means in the morning they feel devoted to God. The moment you come out of the shrine, then the devotion, the focus of love changes from God to, you know how many things are there? Children, money, and this and that and whatnot. So it's not Eka Bhakti. And that's why it is also not Nitya Yukta. It is not unbroken connection with divinity. Our connection keeps on breaking. That is the problem with the so-called other bhaktas. And that is why Sri Krishna said, this Jnani, he is extremely, for that Jnani, I am dearest. And for me, he is the dearest. Priyo hi Jnanino atyartham aham. Aham Jnanino atyartham priyam. For that Jnani, I am the most dearest entity existing. And for me also he is dear. And in the last class we had seen, why is it so? This mutual dearness between this Jnani Bhakta and Ishvara. The reason is non-duality. In this love, there is no sense of separation. This Ishvara, whom this Jnani is loving, that Ishvara is his own self. That Ishvara whom we are talking about, that Ishvara is our own self. It is our own Atma here. There is no separation. And that's why for this, and our self is the most dearest thing in this creation, this true self. That is the connection between this Jnani Bhakta and Ishvara. It is just like in the last class we had given an example. For the pot which is made up of clay, the clay is the most dearest thing. Why? That pot knows that there is nothing existing apart from clay. Is it not? That one pot, that pot may be seeing many other pots, but that pot knows that the so-called many other pots are not pots, they are all clay and clay alone. That pot is seeing nothing but clay everywhere, and that pot is totally devoted to that clay, Eka Bhakti and Nitya Yukta. And that's why that pot's connection with clay, in that, is there any spatial distance? There is no spatial distance in that. That pot's connection with clay is what? It is constant, unbroken connection through knowledge, Jnanam. And because of this Jnanam, that person's devotion is also unbroken, one-pointed, steadfast devotion, Eka Bhakti. This is the devotion, the real devotion which comes, which is born out of the vision of Abheda Darshana or Advaita Darshana. That's why our great masters say the real bhakti comes from Advaita Darshana. That's why all the Advaitins, they were all great devotees. You can go, the greatest Advaitin to be known in history, Shankaracharya himself. He was one of the greatest devotees. Ramakrishna, he is a great Advaitin, but full of devotion. Swami Vivekananda, a great Advaitin, full of devotion. The real devotion emerges from the vision of one reality everywhere. This person's devotion is unbroken and constant. That's why this person vishishyate, this person excels all other devotees. Then, in that case, the question can be asked, the other three devotees, are they not dear to Ishvara? Jnani Bhakta is very dear to Ishvara, and Ishvara is most dearest to the Jnani, this is understood. But the other three devotees who are Sakamis, they are Sakama Bhaktas. They have worldly desires. Their connection with God is meant for some worldly ends, something or the other. God gave me this, God gave me that. Doesn't matter, but still they are also connected with God. It's good. So, are they not dear to Ishvara? they are also dear to Ishvara. That is what Sri Krishna says in the next verse. He says, Udara sarva evaite jnani tvatmaiva me matam asthitas sahi yuktatma mamevanuttamam gatim. Sri Krishna says, Udara sarva evaite. Udara means good. Sarva eva ete udara. They are all noble people. They are all very good people, good bhaktas. But jnani tu atmaiva me matam. Jnani tu atmaiva, but jnani is my own self. This is my firm opinion. This is my firm conviction. They are all dear to me. Everybody who is connected with God, for whatever reason, doesn't matter, they are dear to me. But the jnani is atmaiva me matam. He is my own self. Why? Astitaha sahi yuktatma. Sa yuktatma astitaha. This yuktatma, this jnani, whose mind is continuously in connection with the Supreme Reality. And owing to that connection, that person is astita. Astita means he is set on the path leading to the experience of that Supreme Reality. Astita means he is a person whose mind is set on the path leading to the experience of Supreme Reality. And that Supreme Reality is Brahman, which is Anuttamam Gatim, which is the Supreme. There is nothing superior to that Brahman or Ishvara. So that is the reason why this jnani is dearest to me, he says. Because in jnani's case, again, as I said, in jnani's case, he has got no alternative. Because jnani, when I am saying jnani is a person for whom, apart from Ishvara, nothing is existing. So does he have a choice? Does a jnani have a choice? For a jnani, the choice and alternative comes to an end. There is no choice for the jnani, because for a jnani, Ishvara alone is existing. But for a Advaitin, or a person who thinks that God is also existing, Jagat is also existing, for that person there is always an alternative. There is always to choose between two things. That is why Jnani Bhakta is dearest to me, because he is always in me, whereas the other Bhaktas, they keep on shifting between me and the world, for different reasons. So this is the beautiful picturization of all of us. Now we should know where we belong to. Yes, most of us may be belonging to that first three categories, doesn't matter. But if we are serious spiritual seekers, then we have to strive to grow in this direction, in the direction of attaining that perfect comprehension of the Supreme Reality, wherein we begin to see with our open eyes that there is nothing existing apart from that Ishvara and Ishvara alone. That is what Sri Krishna presented in the first few verses. So beautiful, so grand presentation of the Supreme Reality. This comes only from the Shastras. Again I repeat, this doesn't come from any other books. No, it has to come from Shastras, from the Upanishads, from Gita. These are the main sources from where this complete picture of the Supreme Reality comes to all of us. Anyhow, so Sri Krishna in the 18th verse says that all these bhaktas, the other three bhaktas, they are also noble, they are also good. But this man of knowledge, Jnani, is my own very self. This is my firm conviction and my opinion. Why? Because this person, being connected with me, he has set himself on the path to the attainment of me and me alone. Me who am the Supreme Reality beyond which nothing else is existing. That is why Jnani tu Atmaiva me matam. This Jnani Bhakta is my very self. Now, this being the case, Sri Krishna in the next verse, he is praising this Jnani Bhakta. And when do we attain this supreme knowledge? This is a big question. This supreme knowledge doesn't come all of a sudden. It is the culmination which is preceded by several lifetimes of struggle. The supreme knowledge is the final fruit, the culmination which is preceded by several lifetimes of struggle. That is what is presented in the next verse, where Sri Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Sri Krishna says that Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Bahunam janmanam ante. At the end of several births. Now see, a big principle, a big fact of reality is kept before us. We have been living in countless numbers of bodies in the past. This needs to be recognized. We all have been living in countless numbers of bodies in the past. We don't know. Literally countless. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punanapi janani jatare shayanam, iha samsare khaludustare, kripaya pari, pahi murari. This cycle of birth and death has been going on since beginningless time. We don't know when it started. In fact, no one can determine its starting point. It is not possible. That is why this series is always referred to as Anadi. So, this series of birth going on from beginningless time, whose beginning we cannot determine, this goes on, and in every birth we are accumulating tendencies which is conducive to the knowledge of Ishvara. This is what Krishna wants to say here. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. This jnanavan, this man of knowledge, he attains me. Prapadyate, here prapadyate means he attains me, he experiences me. But this happens only in the last birth. That means in the preceding births, he has been accumulating samskaras. He has been slowly and gradually, he has been accumulating tendencies which are conducive to the rise of the knowledge of the Supreme Reality. This has been going on in several lifetimes. In every birth, little by little, little by little, little by little, we have been accumulating these samskaras, tendencies which is conducive to the emergence of the knowledge of the Supreme Reality. Finally, this knowledge, this accumulated samskaras of knowledge of Ishvara, it becomes matured. It becomes matured only in that last birth. And it is that last birth that the real experience of Ishvara comes to us. So this attainment of Brahmagyan, or attainment of the knowledge of the Supreme Reality, if it is happening, say if it is happening in this birth, then it is going to be the last birth. And if this is your last birth, that means in this birth you are going to attain the knowledge of Ishvara. I hope you understand what I mean to say. Your last birth will be the birth in which you will be attaining the knowledge of Ishvara. Or when you attain the knowledge of Ishvara, that is going to be your last birth. This is the connection between the knowledge of Ishvara and the end of the cycle of birth and death. In whichever birth it is happening, that is going to be the end of the cycle of birth and death through the attainment of the knowledge of Ishvara. If you all know that Sri Ramakrishna says that in one of his sayings, those who are in their last birth, they will come to me. There is a statement. This is exactly what Krishna is saying. Sri Ramakrishna says, if this is your last birth, you will be coming to me. Coming to me means what? Coming to me means what? This Ishvara. If you come to Ishvara, this is going to be your last birth. And if it is your last birth, you are bound to come to Ishvara. They are inseparable. So, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapatyate. After several births, in every birth, that Jiva keeps on accumulating samskaras of knowledge, and that samskaras of knowledge, it is becoming mature and mature and mature and mature. That imperfect knowledge, it goes on becoming perfected and perfected and perfected, and finally in the last birth, when this knowledge of Ishvara becomes fully matured, the real experiential understanding of the Supreme Reality comes. And when that Supreme Reality is experienced, what will be the experience? Sri Krishna says, Vasudeva Sarvameti. What a beautiful thing it is. What will be the experience? Sarvam Vasudevam Eva. Everything is that one reality alone. Whatever we are seeing here, whatever, nothing is left out in that. Sarvam includes everything. The whole struggle of the Upanishadic knowledge is what? It is to unravel the mystery of the Sarvam. What is the Sarvam? We are all confused about the Sarvam. In the Upanishads, you will find all the investigation is about the Sarvam. Sarvam means what? This pointing your finger at something which is in front of you, which appears in the form of human beings, plants, living and non-living things, which we are referring to as world. What is this Sarvam? So all the Upanishads you will find, Om iti etadaksharam idam sarvam, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, Kasminnu bhagavo vigyate, sarvam idam vigyatam bhavati iti. Everywhere the Sarvam is the one point of investigation. What is this thing which we are seeing through our sensory system? And when the knowledge of that comes, the knowledge will be that this Sarvam is nothing but Ishvara and Ishvara alone. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Now, a person who is having this knowledge, Samahatma, he is a Mahatma, he is a great soul, he is not an ordinary person. Samahatma, and as this person has attained the supreme vision of reality, he is Durlabha. This person is rarest of the rarest. If we cannot get so many Mahatmas, the real Mahatmas are always Durlabha. A person who is living in this vision, a vision that there is nothing but one reality alone that is existing, he is Durlabha. So see, everywhere Sri Krishna is bringing back our vision to that fact that, truly speaking, there is nothing existing apart from that supreme reality. Bahurupe sammukhe tumar, chadiye kothai, kojicho Ishwar. Swami Vivekananda's famous statement. Leaving Ishvara standing in front of you in so many forms, leaving this Ishvara, which Ishvara are you searching for? It's a very, very profound, vital question. Our idea of God as localized, it is good as the beginning, but we have to outgrow that idea of God, a localized idea of God, or God will come at the time of death. It's good. This is all, nothing wrong in it. But we are always seeing God and God alone. This is the supreme clarion call given by the Upanishadic Rishis. If we strive, we'll come to this point. I always say, it is just like when we say that God will come at a certain point of time. It's good. That is also a faith. We hold on to this faith and we live with that faith. It's God. It's true. It's nothing wrong in it. It is just like saying that a fish which is in the water, it is expecting that it will see water when it will die. A fish which is swimming in the water, if that fish thinks that water will come at the time of its death, that means that fish is in serious state of hypnotism, is it not? The fish which is surrounded by water, completely inside the water, in and out, it is nothing but water. If that fish thinks that water is going to come at a certain point of time, maybe at a certain place, localized idea of divinity and temporal idea of divinity, both these are tremendous delusion. Swami Vivekananda uses the word tremendous delusion. And we further encourage this delusion. We have to come out of it. This localized idea of God and the temporal idea of God, that God will come. It is good as a beginner, but ultimately God is not to come. There is nothing but God and God alone. This is the vision which Sri Krishna is presenting to us in this chapter. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Whatever we are seeing, it is that one supreme reality alone. Now itself, here itself. This should be the practice which we should be deeply engaged with. And as we keep on practicing it, it will become a reality. So Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. Then Sri Krishna says, again, the question is, if Vasudeva Sarvamiti, if there is nothing but Ishvara and Ishvara alone, again, why is that we fail? Again, coming back to our failure, we fail. We don't succeed in getting established in this vision that there is nothing but God and God alone. Why do we fail? There is only one factor why we fail in getting established in this vision, and that factor is Kama. Desire for the things of the world. As long as we have desires for the things of the world, we shall never be able to have this real vision of the supreme reality. It can never come. That is what is the subject matter of the next few verses. Sri Krishna says, the reason why one does not realize that all this is Vasudeva, the reason why one does not realize that all this is Vasudeva, that reason is, Sri Krishna says, Kamaistaistairitagyana prapadyante devataha tam niyamamasthaya prakritya niyata svaya. A beautiful verse. The reason why we fail to be established in this vision that it is God and God alone. Why? Kamaistai ritagyana and svaya prakritya niyata. These are the two factors. Sri Krishna is saying that Kamaistai ritagyana. Ritagyana means deprived of the discriminating knowledge. Here jnana means that right picture of supreme reality. That right picture of supreme reality, we become deprived of it. Means we fail to get the right vision of reality. Why do we fail? Kamai tai. Because of kama, because of the desire for the different objects of this world, we fail to get that or we become deprived of that right vision of the Supreme Reality. So it's a very beautiful point. This Samyak Darshan, we often refer to this as Samyak Darshan, this right vision of the Supreme Reality, it cannot come as long as we have kamanas for the things of the world. That's why all our scriptures, Upanishads, Gita, Shankaracharya, Sri Ramakrishna is the very embodiment of that, all of them. Unanimously they tell only one point. The biggest obstacle to this vision of the Supreme Reality is one and one alone. That is Kama. And the Kama word includes everything. All kinds of desires, and that desire has got its root only in ignorance. Avidya and Kama, they go together. So, because of this Kamana in our hearts, you see, Kamana for so many objects. My son, my daughter, my husband, my wife, my money, my wealth, my position, my this, my that. This me and mine taking and playing in the form of so many desires for worldly things. Because of this, we become deprived of that vision of that Supreme Reality. Rita Jnana means we become deprived of that Jnana, knowledge of the Supreme Reality. We become deprived. Rita means deprived, owing to Kama. A little while ago, you all chanted this Ram Nam Sankirtana. How does it start? Nanya Spriha Raghupate Hridayasmadiye Satyam Bhavamicha Bhavan Akhilantaratma Bhaktim Prayachha Raghupungava Nirbharame Kamadi Dosharahitam Guru Manasamcha. Is it not? This Ramnam starts with this very prayer to Sri Rama, saying what? Ananya Spriha Raghupate Hridayasmadiye. Hey Raghupati, hey Ram, I have no other Spriha. What a beautiful prayer. So this should be the prayer. Hey Raghupati, hey Ram, I have no other Spriha, no other desire. And I am speaking the truth. Satyam Vadamicha. Bhavan Akhilantaratma. Hey Ram. Now again, Ram means what? Again, you may visualize him in that beautiful form. One who is holding the bow and arrow. On the left side of Ram is Sita is standing. That's a beautiful, it's Brahman. Shuddha Brahma Paratmara Ram Kalatmaka. He is transcendent as well as he is Kalatmaka. He is Nirguna Nirakara and he is also Saguna Sakara. These are all the description of that Supreme Brahman. Whether it is Rama, Krishna, or any other deities, they are all nothing but forms of that Brahman associated with Maya. Shankaracharya uses a beautiful term, Paramesha Shakti. What a beautiful term it is. It is Paramatma associated with Paramatma's own Shakti. Whatever we are seeing, it is a play of these two things, Paramesha Shakti, Shuddha Brahma and Kalatmaka. It is a Nirguna, Saguna, taken, appearing in a certain form. So it is prayer to the Supreme Reality that Nanya Spriha, I have no other Spriha. Ishvara, I have no other Spriha. Satyam Vadami, I am speaking the truth. Bhavan Akhilantaratma, you are the self existing everywhere. And what is my prayer? Bhaktim Prayacha Raghupungava Nirbharame, I am dependent on you. Bestow on me that Eka Bhakti. In Sri Krishna's language, that true bhakti coming from that vision that Ishvara alone is existing. What a beautiful thing it is. Bless me with that bhakti which is born out of the vision that there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. Eka Bhakti. Bhaktim Prayacha Raghupungava Nirbharame. And what is the obstacle to this bhakti? Kama. As long as you have desires for the things of the world, this bhakti cannot come. That's why you give me bhakti and remove the greatest obstacle to this bhakti. What is the biggest obstacle to this bhakti is what? Kamadi dosha rahitam Guru Manasamcha. Let my mind become free from Kamadi dosha. The biggest dosha is what? Kamana. As long as there is Kamana, this true bhakti can never come into our life. That is what here Sri Krishna is also saying. So beautiful. So Kamai stai stai ritagyana. Ritagyana means becoming deprived of this knowledge of the Supreme Reality. What makes us deprived? Kama. And when we are deprived of the Supreme Reality, so deprived of this vision of the Supreme Reality, owing to Kamana, what happens? Prapadyante anya devata. It's a very beautiful thing. Then we go and take refuge in other gods, other deities. Now a very beautiful point is presented here. You can see religion, the popular religion as we see in society is mostly of this kind. Then we take refuge in so many other deities apart from the Supreme God, Supreme Ishvara. Like, if you want wealth, you will go to one deity. Is it not? Who is the goddess of wealth? You know. You'll go there. If you want knowledge, students who want to pass examination, they will go to one deity. Is it not? And if there is Shani's Prakopa, then you will go to the Shani Devata. Shani Devata's temple, you will find long line there. With all due respect to everybody, they are all somehow or the other, they are trying to connect with some divinity. That's all. There's nothing wrong in it. But this is happening owing to their mind being full of worldly desires. This worldly desire is depriving them of the knowledge of the Supreme Ishvara, and that is making them go and fall at the feet of different deities who can fulfill their worldly desires. Prapadyante anya devataha. You can see, society will find people, they go and take refuge at the feet of so many gods and goddesses. Astrology, again with all due respect, you will find the longest line outside the astrologers' houses. Today, this planet's Prakopa and that planet's Prakopa. Because why? We want to get our worldly desires fulfilled. Amar ki eta hobe, sheta hobe, to Boledin. Please tell me what will happen, whether I will get this, whether I will get that, when will I get it, when will I marry. All these things are there. So when we have worldly desires, then we go and fall at feet of the so-called different deities. Prapadya, see how true it is. Kamai stai sai ritagyana prapadyante anya devata. And when you go and fall at the feet of these deities, you begin to follow the rules by which these deities have to be worshipped. That is what Krishna is saying. Tam tam niyamam asthaya. Then you will be niyamam. Niyamam means those rules to worship. No, every deity has got a certain method of worshipping it. If you have to worship a certain deity, you have to do certain things. If you have to worship some other deity, you have to worship that deity in a different manner. So you will begin to follow all those rules to please that deity, to get your worldly desires fulfilled. And then what? Prakritya niyata swaya. And also induced by your own tendencies, natural tendencies and samskaras. So this is a beautiful picture coming about the so-called the popular religion, where people are not seeking the Supreme Reality. They are seeking the methods by which their worldly desires will be fulfilled, and that is why they go and fall at the feet of so-called different deities. But they are not falling at the feet of the Supreme Reality, Ishvara. And then Sri Krishna says, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayar chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Now it is very interesting that Krishna is saying, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah. Yah bhaktah, this bhaktah, yam yam tanum shraddhaya architum ichhati. Whichever deity this person wishes to worship. How worship? Shraddhaya, with full faith. Now these people are full of faith. These people who go and fall at the feet of different deities to fulfill their different worldly needs, they are full of faith. They do it with utmost faith. Now the most interesting this thing is that who is strengthening their faith? Who is strengthening their faith? These so-called bhaktas who go and fall at the feet of the different deities to get their worldly desires fulfilled, they are full of faith, full of shraddha. So shraddhaya architum ichhati tasya achalam shraddham tameva vidadhami aham. It is I who am strengthening their shraddha in these so-called lower deities. Okay, if they have worldly wishes to be fulfilled, and they go to these different deities to get their worldly desires fulfilled, that shraddha, I who am strengthening their shraddha in these deities, and they are getting their so-called worldly desires fulfilled. Not only this, again Sri Krishna says, interesting thing is that Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktaha Tasya Radhanamihate Labhate Chatata Kaman Mayaiva Vihitan Hitan. Now these devotees, with great Shraddha, they are going and falling at the feet of these different deities to get their worldly desires fulfilled. Very fine. Sri Krishna is saying that Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktaha, endowed, imbued with this Shraddha, a Shraddha which I am strengthening. These devotees who have got this Shraddha, it is I who am strengthening that Shraddha, and imbued with this Shraddha, Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktaha Tasya Aradhanam Ihate. Ihate means they engage. They engage themselves in the worship of these different deities. How true it is. They are busy. They put their whole heart and soul in pleasing these different deities so that their worldly needs can be fulfilled. Tasya aradhanam ihate labhate chatata kaman, and their desires are fulfilled. Now the most interesting thing is that who is fulfilling their desires? Is it that particular deity who is fulfilling their desires? Their desires are getting fulfilled through me and me alone. But they, owing to their lack of knowledge, they are thinking that these deities are fulfilling their desires. Ishvara alone is the karma phaladata. Ishvara, everything, whatever you may be praying to, or to whoever you may be praying to, for whatever reasons and for whatever purposes to be fulfilled, all those things are getting dispensed or fulfilled through Ishvara and Ishvara alone. But owing to ignorance, these bhaktas, they think that this deity fulfilled my wish, that deity fulfilled my wish. All the wishes are getting fulfilled by Ishvara and Ishvara alone. You see, it's a beautiful, so we should know the reality. So Sri Krishna is saying, Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktaha Tasya Radhana Mihate, imbued with that Shraddha, they engage in worshipping these deities, and Labhate cha tata kaman, their kama vishayas, the different objects of desires get fulfilled. But by whom? Mayaiva, through me alone. Vihitan hitan. Vihita. Vihitan means I am the one who is dispensing their wishes. I am the one who is fulfilling their wishes. Now again, whatever these devotees they have wished for, everything, all wishes will become fulfilled. That's why now we celebrate this Kalpataru day, is it not? Who is Kalpataru? Ishvara alone is Kalpataru. Again, let us go back to it is all Ishvara only. Ishvara alone is Kalpataru. Everything, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all the fruits, it is Ishvara who is the dispenser of everything. He is that wish fulfilling tree. There is no other Kalpataru. It is Ishvara and Ishvara alone. Brahman associated with Shakti is the Kalpataru. Please note down this point. Brahman, the supreme Brahman associated with Ishvara, associated with Maya, Shakti, is the Kalpataru. He is the one which fulfills all our Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. So, here Sri Krishna is saying that it is Ishvara alone who is fulfilling all the wishes of these devotees. Now, these worldly objects, the phalam which the devotee gets, is it permanent? It will all come to an end. Whatever you ask for, whether it is money, whether it is something else, all this phalam, it is all antavattu. That is the next verse. So beautiful. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Shri Krishna says, Antavattu phalam. All this phalam which the so-called devotees seek, phalam means fruits, the different objects. They want money, they want pleasures, they want this and that. This is all temporary. It will all go away. It is only for 2 moments. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedhasam. These devotees who are alpamedhasa. Alpamedhasa means whose intelligence is very narrow or limited. People with narrow intelligence, or you may say very low intelligence, alpamedhasa. These devotees with alpamedhasa, with low intelligence or narrow intelligence, they seek these so-called fruits which are limited. Now, why seek for limited fruits? Why not seek for something which is unlimited? That is the question. Sri Ramakrishna beautifully says, going to a king, you ask for, "O king, give me 2 potatoes, give me 3 brinjals." Is it not ridiculous that you are standing in front of the emperor and you are asking for 2 potatoes and 3 brinjals? Why not ask for the whole kingdom itself? That king can give. In front of Ishvara, we go and ask for 2 potatoes and 3 brinjals. That is the most ridiculous thing to do in life. So when we stand before Ishvara, in his shrine also, what should we be praying for? God, I want you in your totality, nothing short of that. That is the true prayer of a bhakta, not any particular small things of this world. It is that desire for the small petty things of the world which deprives us of that supreme vision. Kamaistai ritagyana prapadyante anyadevata tam niyamamasthaya prakritya niyata swayaha. So beautiful. So here Sri Krishna is saying, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedhasam. And then what? Devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. So those who are the worshippers of so-called these different deities, they will be attaining these deities. And madbhakta yanti mam api. My devotee, a devotee who is wanting me and me alone, he will be attaining me. He will be attaining me means what? He will be experiencing that supreme reality in its totality. This Vijnanam, which Sri Krishna talked about in the beginning of the 7th chapter, that will become a fact, where we begin to see that Vasudeva Sarvamiti. And when this knowledge comes, that will be the last birth. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. When this knowledge comes, we should remember that is going to be the last birth. And if it is our last birth, then you are going to have this knowledge. That is the great connection. So in the next class, we will see a beautiful, another point is raised. Here comes the discussion of incarnation. It's a very interesting subject. Next few verses deals with this point. When an incarnation comes, who is an incarnation? Upanishad says that everybody is an incarnation. Upanishad doesn't make any difference between special incarnation. According to the Upanishads, we are all incarnations only. Incarnations means what? Brahman associated with Shakti in so many forms. But there are special forms which come from time to time. And these forms are not easy to recognize. That is going to be the subject matter of the next verse. This topic was touched upon in the 4th chapter also. I will touch upon that point in the next class. Sri Krishna had introduced the subject in the 4th chapter, where the incarnation, the subject of incarnation was touched upon. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujami aham srujami, I come. Now, I means what? Brahman associated with Shakti takes a special form and comes down from time to time for a certain purpose. And when it comes down, very few people can recognize it. That is going to be the topic of the next class. We shall see it in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.